everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again with some more intriguing wrestling news. Now obviously Tom has already done a news video on this channel which you can check out earlier today. That makes no sense time-wise. You know exactly what I mean though. But for now, we've got a whole new batch of headlines to discuss. So let's check them out. First of all, a top SmackDown team have teased a return soon. Next up, we take a look at WWE's plans to stop offensive imagery in the ThunderDome. And finally, a former WWE personality and wrestling legend, it's fair to say, has said that WWE's current storylines suck. So yes, first of all, a top SmackDown tag team that have been absent from the product for quite a while now have teased a return. And it's our boys, our collective boys, the Usos. They took to Twitter yesterday and issued a warning to the rest of the WWE tag division saying, PSA, every WWE tag team, do you, hashtag Uso countdown. Sounds like they're going to kick off. Now, Jey Uso has been on WWE TV here and there recently. Most recently, in fact, on last week's SmackDown, getting thrown about by a very angry Braun Strowman. However, Jimmy Uso hasn't been seen for quite some time. That is because of a knee injury he sustained at WrestleMania 36, and then it was reported in early May that he would be expected to be out of action for 6 to 9 months, likely keeping him out of action, actually, for the rest of 2020. But we don't really know because it doesn't seem like that much time has passed. Has that much time actually passed? Hang on. No, it hasn't. That much time hasn't passed. Because of 2020 and just what a rubbish year it's been, I can't work out where we are right now. But no, this is quite an early announcement from the Usos, so maybe he's just done a bit of a John Cena and rehabilitated himself far faster than humanly imaginable. It was a shame as well because the Usos had just returned to WWE TV at the start of 2020, and then one half of the tag team gets injured at WrestleMania. There's no word on how Jimmy's rehab is going, but on his Instagram there are a few little clues here and there. For example, he appears to be no longer wearing a knee brace as of August 1st. I don't know who wrote these notes, but whoever in Cultaholic has been doing some excellent investigative journalism on Jimmy Uso's Instagram account. He's not been wearing a knee brace since August the 1st, but was still wearing the knee brace as of July 23rd. So it seems like at some point recently, the knee brace has come off. So it seems like his rehabilitation is going fairly well. I just don't know whether that tweet was an announcement like, yes, we're going to be back soon, or whether it was more, don't forget about us because we will be back eventually. It's one of the two. I just can't work out which one. I mean, there could be a clue in the hashtag that they used their Uso countdown, maybe implying a countdown means that something is in the near future. But countdowns can be any length, can't they? So it could be like a 5-year countdown. It's not going to be 5 years, but I don't know. Keep a look on their social media and see whether any more clues emerge, and we'll do the same, I promise. Next up, obviously, there's been quite a lot of offensive and controversial imagery shown in the WWE ThunderDome since WWE entrusted individual fans with having a panel or a screen on the show. People said it was always going to happen. It did happen. And maybe some of the things shown were actually maybe a bit worse than people could have imagined. I don't know, but yeah, it's not been particularly great, has it? But this does come in the wake of the news that the ThunderDome has actually led to a ratings increase, at least for Monday Night Raw, although that could also be attributed to the fact that it was the Raw immediately following SummerSlam, so we're going to have to see whether ThunderDome's effect has a sustained impact on the ratings going forwards. But anyway, Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live was talking about WWE's plans to stop this offensive imagery from being shown in the ThunderDome. WWE did issue a brief statement, or a spokesperson issued a brief statement, but it didn't really have many clues. It just basically said, you know, this is abhorrent, it doesn't reflect our values, and we'll be taking steps to remedy it. But Alvarez says, I've been told that they're going to be making some changes, and I don't know this for sure, but the impression that I get is when they've been doing this for a while, they are going to find some fans that are going to obey the rules no matter what. He goes on to say, I believe what they're going to do is find all of the people that they can trust who have done this before and are trustworthy, and they're going to be in the lower bowl, and then everybody who they don't necessarily trust yet, the first timers, they're going to throw them into the upper bowl. So the lower bowl ones obviously will have more of a prominence on the show. Then Alvarez says something truly baffling, and I hope he's okay because it made no sense to me. They could put, I can imagine it in his voice as well, they could put a volcano! They could put a volcano up on the screen, and you're not going to be able to see it because it's way up there in the upper bowl. There, Brian Alvarez's point is that if you're in the upper bowl and you do something offensive, it's probably not going to be picked up by the cameras unless there's a random off chance that it's been doing a scan of the upper bowl. I don't know why he's used a volcano. Does he mean... Yeah, that makes no sense. At first, I just checked my notes again thinking he said they could put a volcano in the upper tier and you wouldn't be able to see it. But no, he said they could put a volcano up on the screen and you're not going to be able to see it. Honestly, some of the stuff that's been going on those individual webcams, a volcano wouldn't catch my attention at all, I don't think. I don't understand as well, it's really charming and sweet how Alvarez's first thought, like, oh, what's the biggest thing I can think of that they could do on a screen? A volcano. Earth's natural phenomena in real life, bursting into lava. It's really romantic from Alvarez, and I do appreciate it, but equally it makes literally no sense. But on a serious note, it is good to see WWE trying to take measures to combat this recent problem. You could argue that maybe they should have thought of this first and maybe done that first, but I guess maybe they didn't have enough people that they could trust or something, and as time goes on, they'll learn who's going to be, who's going to be more trustworthy in front of an audience. Next up, a brief detour into New Japan Pro Wrestling territory where we talk about the ongoing King of Pro Wrestling tournament. The finals are set for Summer Struggle. Now, the King of Pro Wrestling tournament has been bizarre because it's been that tournament where the matches have had certain unique stipulations, some of them really, really silly. So let's see what's happened. So first of all, we had Desperado versus Kojima in a no finishers allowed match, and then Kojima used his finisher and got DQ'd. You might be thinking, Kojima, you idiot, but Desperado baited him into using it by using the lariat himself, which is obviously not his finisher, and then Kojima lost his mind and used his lariat. It doesn't actually make that much sense. I think Kojima has still been a little bit of an idiot there, to be honest. Toru Yano, the wonderfully comedic man that he is, defeated Bushi of LIJ in a 2-count pinfall match by pinning him with a 2 count, and that was enough for the win. It was actually a reversed pinning predicament into one of his own, and the referee counted 2. So Yano's through. Next up, Sonata beat Sho in a submission match. Both guys had basically chosen a submission stipulation, so there was no fan vote on that one there. Winning with a figure 4 leg lock, Sonata did. And then Okada beat Yujiro Takahashi, Gedo and Jado in a handicap match, a 3-on-1 handicap match, by submitting Gedo with the Cobra Clutch. I've not watched that match yet, but reports online said it was sluggish and slow, which isn't necessarily shocking. Often handicap matches are, especially when 2 of the competitors are older guys. However, at the same time, when Okada is in the same sentence as underwhelming or slow match, you're like, Okada's had a bad match. What's going on? Anyway, all 4 winners of these matches, so Desperado, Yano, Okada, and Sonata, will all go into a fatal 4-way on Saturday in Jingu. The winner will be declared the preliminary King of Pro Wrestling and will defend the title for the rest of the year. And then whoever's holding the belt at the end of 2020 will be declared the New Japan Pro Wrestling King of Pro Wrestling 2020. It's confusing, but we got there in the end. Summer Struggle in Jingu airs on Saturday, August 29th on New Japan World at 4 a.m. Eastern if you're American, or whatever that is in... Is that 9 a.m. UK time? Let's go with that. Anyway, that's when Summer Struggle in Jingu is airing, and here is the full card. We've got Evil versus Naito for the IWGP Heavyweight and IC Championship, although I'm not sure which belt's on the line, one or both. It's either going to be the Heavyweight or both. Evil versus his former stable leader Naito. The IWGP Tag Team Championship, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. are defending against the super team of Hiroshi Tanahashi and a really jacked looking Kota Ibushi lads. Hiromu Takahashi will defend the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against Bullet Club's Taiji Ishimori. Shingo Takagi will defend the Never Championship, the Never Openweight Championship, against Minoru Suzuki. We've got that fatal 4-way, Okada, Sonata, Yano and Desperado to decide the preliminary King of Pro Wrestling, and also the best match of the night, Master Wato versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru of Suzuki Gun. So that one will be... looks like a good card though, to be fair. Next up, a current WWE major star has said that cinematic matches should be finite. Finite? You know, the opposite of infinite. They shouldn't last forever. They should be used more sparingly, is the point he's getting at here. And you know what? It's not really the superstar that you might expect, given that I'll just tell you who it is. It's Bray Wyatt. Now, the cinematic matches have really put a spotlight on Bray Wyatt specifically. He had that match against Cena at WrestleMania. He's had these tussles with Strowman. And I feel like he is maybe a surprising person when you're talking about someone who's calling for limited use of cinematic matches, given that he is such a cinematic gimmick. And it's interesting to hear Bray say that, isn't it? Because he, more than most, has the cinematic matches have allowed Bray to have a certain spotlight on him, from that match against John Cena at WrestleMania to, this recent tussle with Braun Strowman. And you'd think that he'd be in favour of them being used more because, of course, he's one of the main stars of the cinematic WWE experience. Then again, on the other hand, maybe Bray knows better than most the potentially damaging effect of these cinematic matches or their overuse, because, I mean, it wasn't a cinematic match per se, but that Hell in a Cell match with Rollins was more of a cinematic experience, a bad one, than a wrestling match, and he got critically slated for it. So maybe Bray, and also he probably just wants to show that he can wrestle and that he's a great wrestler, which is easy to forget, but it is interesting to hear his opinion. Let's see what he's got to say in an interview with ESPN Africa. He says, I think they're fun and all, but I like being around the people more. And those matches, they should be select. There should be a few here and there. That's what keeps them special, especially after the humdinger that Undertaker and AJ Styles put together, because that thing is close to undefeatable. But you know, it's something that you get to approach differently, so it's wonderful for your creativity, but they should be finite. Finite. It's got to be finite, hasn't it? And finally, a top wrestling personality, former WWE personality, WCW icon, Eric Bischoff, right? Eric Bischoff has said that modern day current storylines in WWE suck. Bischoff was a guest on Sportskeeda and was asked about how storylines of today compared to in his day, and he said, storylines suck right now. They suck. Storylines are getting worse and worse. That is the only thing that I feel adamant about. Really laying into it there. He's not mincing his words, is Eric. He goes on, you look at what WWE did at SmackDown with ThunderDome over the weekend. Such a phenomenal job from a production point of view. I knew that WWE would knock the ThunderDome concept out of the park. Better than anybody, including the NBA. I might disagree. I'm really enjoying the NBA's setup right now, but you know, WWE clearly took inspiration from that and replicated it to some success. Anyway, Bischoff goes on, I knew they would. They're so good at that aspect of everything. What they're not good at is basic fundamental storytelling. They're just not. He goes on, I love them and I have many friends there who I love dearly. It doesn't change the fact that their storylines, the architecture, their approach to stories, their discipline with stories sucks. And he closes by saying, until someone comes along and takes an honest look at storytelling and the structure of storytelling and the formulas that are used, it's going to be hit or miss forever. Strong words there from Eric Bischoff, and I think I agree. I think I largely agree with him. I think the storyline telling needs a bit of an overhaul in WWE. Often it can either be a bit nonsensical, not really make sense, or just feel like they're spinning their wheels and killing time until the next pay-per-view. I totally agree with him, and he's been very harsh there, but it's Eric Bischoff, and he says what he wants. And if anyone's allowed to have a little pop at WWE, surely it's Uncle Eric, come on now. So that's it for today's second news video. Thank you monstrously for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.